Hello, this is Begin the Slaughter. I'm Murder Who. Well, I said I hoped my next devlog would be the final boss being done, and it is. I'm more or less introduced the core ideas in the last devlog, so I'll just let it play as B-roll as I talk about what comes next. At this point, I theoretically have a complete game. A game that's not very good, and you can't actually die or get a win screen, but it is complete. This is slightly behind schedule as I was aiming for this past Sunday, but I was derailed multiple times. So, what comes next? Polish, polish, and more polish. So I need more upgrades and downgrades. I'd like to make some new movement tech, and before all that, I have some necessities. I need a main menu and an options menu. The option menu needs to be able to control graphics options for stuff like foliage distance and control options, such as changing keyboard controls. Preferably, I would also make controller support at this point. And it should also have an option to change to a more common and readable font, as well as other accessibility issues. I need music, and my friends who are video game composers have all turned me down, probably because of the lack of funds, so I will be looking into royalty-free libraries. Music is not within my capabilities. I need new sound effects and sound design, so I'll be setting aside a day to study the basics of video game sound design and gain a better theoretical understanding of why my current placeholders really suck. I want to improve the general enemy AI. Specifically, I want them to spread out more and follow the player differently. Right now, an optimal mode of play is finding a good clear line to charge down and zipping past the enemy. This causes them all to bunch up and keep on your nice clear line of charging and attack. This is not the most interesting, and it's more boring than fun to simply do the same thing all the time. There is also still the tendency of enemies to try and climb anything and everything, which has to do with the lack of a proper wayfinding system. I tried navigation meshes and other common solutions, but they all led to timing out the game and producing non-working paths, because my terrain doesn't play nice with them. Modifying the agent parameters for navigation meshes to allow climbing simply led to navigation meshes with points at infinity, so my terrain really doesn't play nice with it. So I need to look into older solutions to see how enemies can be pathed around obstacles without taking up too much computing time each. I need the player to be able to die, I need to be able to reset the map, and I need to have a victory screen. So I also need an escape menu in-game, which is the basic, return to main menu, access the options menu again, etc. For replayability's sake, I would like to make a score system, probably similar to Ranaturas, where you have a score multiplier that climbs with kills as long as you aren't hit, which would kind of, enforces the wrong word, but entail an optimal mode of play, imply an optimal mode of play, that's what I'm getting at. And also for replayability's sake, this is more of a stretch goal after everything else, I would like multiple unlockable modes of play. For example, right now upgrades spawn after areas are cleared, but they could also simply be placed on the map to begin with, and you would need to build out to where they are to claim them. Another mode could start with some downgrades and some free upgrades. These would be minor things, but being tied to in-game achievements would help give the sense of, progression and stuff after you beat your first run. I need Steam integration and to make Steam achievements. I need to make save files to keep track of high scores and options. I need map icons for crystals that haven't been broken yet, and upgrades that haven't been claimed yet. I need to finish up the trees. This would entail making a leafless version of the trees that I can make collision from, and making the full variety of trees I always intended. Trees now spawn much quicker than they used to, so I can also make more of them, and this also means making better tree chopping algorithms for buildings so that trees don't overlap with them in a bad way, for example blocking access to a region crystal. I also originally imagined that trees would be part of a fast travel network with vines stretching between them that you would automatically crawl between. I'm going to consider that a stretch goal. Making the trees better is not going to be so much of a stretch, but making a fast travel between regions you haven't explored yet sounds like it, would be desirable and interesting because of how large my terrain actually is, my island actually is. I have a lot of minor bugs I'm aware of that would be nice to clear, such as the ability to spawn more regions after spawning a castle upgrade, allowing players to skip bosses entirely. I would need to make a tutorial. I do need to make a tutorial. A tutorial is in fact the inspiration for the name of the game. I imagined a movement tutorial that would end with shaking that nice person's hand, only to see them ragdoll and spurt blood everywhere, then followed by the command, "Begin the slaughter." I need to make a demo. I think this game is impossible to market to people until they feel how good the movement is. Watching these B-roll footages in the background of my devlogs doesn't really carry that across, and the entire feel-goodness of my game, the entire enjoyment of it, lies in the movement physics. I have a large number of things I would promise myself I would get back to when I have time, such as improving the mines further, redoing the tool sheds and barns for the farm, making a better blood splatter, and just everywhere in the game is made up out of compromises to try and stay on some kind of schedule. and a lot more. I have a long list. And I have 11 days. In 11 days, I have to start looking for a wage job outside the gaming industry because my savings are running out and I can no longer regularly work on this or other games. So far, I am not entirely proud of the game I've produced. I would like to have had a lot more time to put into it. Despite the price point and niche audience I think it will garner, I think with either more time or more experience, I could have produced something much better in every conceivable way. But these past 2 months building this game have still been the most fulfilling work I've ever done, and comes with nowhere near the same stress as working in a restaurant in any position. That aside, the planned release date is on the 15th of September. This gives me time to release keys to streamers and YouTubers such as my friends Alexa and Isley, who may or may not care for the game enough to demonstrate it on their channels, and I am unable to afford sponsoring them. These 2 weeks will likely be spent mostly looking for work, so I will have time to find and discover the worst bugs, do some marketing for the game before release, and make some last-minute polish, but I will not be able to spend a lot of time doing so. Alright, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please help my engagement by liking, commenting, and subscribing, and please wishlist on Steam.